Hello, welcome to another episode of Personality Typing with Habib. This is a light edition, and today we're going to be typing Ana Kasparian. So she is likely an INTJ and possibly already typed in the objective personality system. I don't really have a reference necessarily because it may have been in a database somewhere, but can't really find it at this moment, although there is a community database that she's in, but we don't know how official that is. But anyway, Anna is a political commentator and a media person from the Young Turks. She's an executive producer of that show. And yeah, as usual, there's no type accuracy guarantees. And yeah, before we get into it, I'm going to be doing a previous episode recap on Pam Bondi, who we typed was the previous DOJ, Department of Justice Attorney General. So some kind of lawyer person who, did a bunch of bad things. And that was a dark episode. And this episode is going to be a light episode because I think Anna is doing more good than not. And so, and we're all on a spectrum, right? So we have the choice to do good or bad every day. And, who knows, who can really be the judge of that. But yeah, we're going to review some clips of Anna and then do a final guess for her type. And yeah, and then we're going to do the next episode preview of like who we're going to type in the next 2 weeks. So previously on personality typing, we had Pam Bondi, who I typed as an ENTJ. She looks kind of like some of the other ENTJs and seems to have the flex, and the, finger wagging of the kind of the archetypical blaster, even though she might have blast last, right? But kind of trying to correct the record, trying to get her story out there, and then blaming other people, not taking accountability herself. I don't know that these people take any accountability, but yeah, I mean, she's basically protecting a bunch of alleged pedophiles. So that's her legacy, at least as far as I know. And then basically, yeah, FMTESE, play, consume, sleep, blast, last, number one is what I guessed, but it could be any kind of EJ. I'm not really sure. I can't say for sure. But that's as much as I saw and I proved in the episode that we did last time. And so anyway, without further ado, let's just move on to the next one, which I'm a little bit more certain on because, this person may have already been typed. But also from what I'm seeing, it's a little bit more clear because she does remind me a bit of AOC. And that's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a left-leaning person. Depending on who you ask, some people might say she's centrist. But yeah, I think she's somewhat on the left. And but yeah, the big thing with this episode is that Ana Kasparian seems to have gone through some kind of transformation, political transformation, just kind of like a maturing of a political ideology or lack thereof, kind of going more by issue basis. I think a lot of Americans and a lot of people who have learned about politics, they are getting more nuanced and more, not necessarily tied to any one party because, yeah, the parties make less and less sense. And by parties, I mean the Republican or the Democrat Party in the United States. Those don't really make that much sense. I was also reminded of Jillian Michaels a bit because they might have the same animal stack with blast, play, consume, sleep, last. And the animals are just how much energy you have. So they're the most energetic INTJs and the least energetic INTJs. So given this animal stack, she would be the most extroverted an INTJ could be. So that is a little different and unique about this objective personality system is you have all these different kinds of INTJs, and Ana Kasparian might be this higher energy. She's able to talk, she's able to host a show and, talk for a long time, even though that is for her work. Yeah, who knows, maybe when she's at home, she's quiet, but that she could put on that extroverted shows, that kind of points out the extroverted aspect that she may have energetically. AOC also has that as well. But when it comes to the introverted intuition that INTJs have at the top, they can be very methodical and strategic, and they can see through all kinds of BS. And another person I was reminded of is Ariana Grande, because they would be sharing functions. And there's a certain look that, so we would call this the gamma quadrant, which includes these functions. So missing the NE, FE, TI, SI functions. So those are the 8 functions. And if you're missing them, then you're in the gamma quadrant. Yeah, so basically that's what we have as first impressions. But yeah, AOC is striking the biggest similarity in my head, at least from my limited visual typing abilities, which is a legitimate typing method. But anyway, we're gonna, without further ado, just get into the interview clips. And yeah, the first one is just a short video just to get to know Ana Kasparian's political shift. She's kind of done with the Democratic Party here, as you can see. And so we're going to hear from that.
If we're going to sit around and wait for our elected lawmakers to protect us from these religious zealots and these right-wing authoritarians, man, we have another thing coming. How many times do we need to be disappointed by them? I'm done with them. And personally, I don't speak for everyone in this network. I want to be clear. I'm speaking for myself. I'm done with them completely. The Democratic Party, every single one of them, that includes the squad, I don't care anymore. They have not delivered. They have not delivered. I'm done. Okay. It's time to organize, create organizations that get women and get people in this country what they need. People who are willing to pick up the slack for these disgusting, feckless, corrupt politicians. That's what we need to focus on.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, like, we all have our own constituencies, our own things that we care about. But you know, you ask anyone why the Democratic Party is bad, everyone's going to have a different reason. But you'd be hard pressed to find people who say it's good necessarily. I mean, lesser of two evils, that can always happen. But yeah, so before getting into the other clips, I just wanted to touch on horseshoe theory. Now, it may be a legitimate or illegitimate theory, who knows, right? But what happens is that when the center, well, I would say the current Democratic and Republican parties are basically center, maybe far right, actually, but it depends who you ask, right? But what ends up happening, just for the sake of argument in this horseshoe, like, we're saying that the center, you know, they end up not doing all that much, and then the left and the right, as they go further and further left and further right, they end up agreeing on a bunch of things. And so it becomes a horseshoe where they kind of meet in the middle, and they're like, wait a minute, we agree on different things, you know, even though we're on opposite sides of the political spectrum, it's somehow meeting. And it looks like this. For example, I think the issues about Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, as well as the Epstein files, is bringing a lot of these issues together. The people who are on the far left or the far right, they're like, you know what, we agree on this. And so, you know, you might as well, like, stop paying attention to the corporate shills in the centrist party, which you could see here. Corporatism, hedonism, liberalism. Yeah, so these are the people who are not really being very effective right now. And there's all kinds of labels attached to the left and right. You see, this is a pretty biased image here, but yeah, anyway, what ends up happening is who can cut through the noise, right? This is all basically noise, and who can actually cut through the issues and actually be correct on the certain take, right? Because there is a correct position with any issue, depending on, like, who you are, when you are. At this time, you know, there's certain needs, political needs, that people have. You know, people think that they're part of the left or the right, but they don't. They may actually agree on issues. And anyway, there's different forms of this horseshoe theory. This previous one is a different way to look at it. But anyway, well, I guess I'll speak a little bit on it, just saying that on this side, there's elite scarcity and the mass population, you know, people who are just eating popcorn, you know, bread and circuses, right? People who are just ignoring what's going on versus the elite people, or who are just engaging in luxury activities. And then you have the people who are actually forming the resistance. So anyway, horseshoe theory, it's legitimate or not, but the idea is to cut through the noise of the bullshit and the crap that isn't actually working, and there's a lot of like political deadlocks and things aren't advancing, and normal people, or not just normal people, but most people, even wealthy people, are kind of getting screwed, because the systems is just failing to such a large degree. But yeah, so here in this clip, so we have 5 total clips. This is clip number 2. Video number 2 of 5. And Ana gets attacked by some neighbor that she knows. But why is she getting attacked? She got attacked with this dog. Let's see.
About how they're trying to get my husband fired. Tell my husband about it. We go and confront her about what she's saying and what she did to me, and pay close attention to what she says here. Watch.
Wait.
Go ahead.
You're trying to get me fired?
No, I did not. I said I'm telling everybody about her.
No, that's what she just said.
You said that you're trying to get my husband fired.
Everybody's trying to get me fired.
Exactly. Yeah, you're part of that, everybody.
Be careful, that woman's dangerous. She tried to sick that dog at me. She tried to sick that dog at me and my dog. That's what she tried to do. That's what she tried to do. She tried to sick her dog.
Okay, yeah. It's I'm gonna stop that clip right there, just because there's a lot of energy. It's high energy extroversion. Ana seems to have, she's not just, an INTJ who stays at home. She's, going out walking her dog, and but not only that, she's actually defending, she's speaking, she's able to stand up for herself, able to stand up for her husband and her dog. So that is, when you have an INTJ who has high energy, in the objective personality system, we use the word extroversion, but you could also just say high energy. A higher energy INTJ is going to operate a little differently. And yeah, she's information dominant in the sense that she's going to be correcting the record on anything that's wrong information wise, rather than leaving it up to chance that something can be misinterpreted. Speaking of which, let's see her clear some things up and also talk about how certain people are going against her in an incorrect way from misinterpretations.
Us people in the streets, we don't go stalk them, we don't terrorize them. We're always for nonviolence. I'm super proud that TYT is now known throughout the internet as the show that is always for nonviolence, always for peace, okay? So nobody go bother anybody here, because I know what they're gonna do next. Oh my God, they showed it online.
Oh yeah, we did. We sure did.
I was just trying to stalk her.
We sure did. I will never apologize for that. You came for my dog and my husband. You want to come for me, that's a different story. Okay, mano a mano, that's a different story. You come at me with my dog? With my dog. You try to stick your dog at my dog. You try to threaten my husband's livelihood. You think I'm a little wilting flower and I'm so scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. This isn't gonna stop me from doing the commentary that I do. And by the way, look at what kind of disgusting, despicable, dishonest pieces of crap Canary Mission is. Because while they were pretending as if I was doing the so-called happy merchant meme and that I'm some big anti-Semite, let's take a look at the video in full context, shall we?
Your best friend's Jewish.
They don't care.
No, my point is, did Larry Ellison or Bill Ackman or Netanyahu call her and say, hey, are you okay with this?
Larry Ellison can tell me how my ass tastes.
Yeah.
Okay, how about that?
Yeah,
right,
so
disgusting, weird Oracle founder going around talking about like, yes, we're gonna surveil everybody. Everyone will be on their best behavior. Yes, you're a freak. You're a total creep.
Okay.
All right,
so
total creep.
So my point is, do not put Larry Ellison's actions on our friends.
No, I don't, because I'm not an idiot. Okay, I don't conflate a nation state with an entire group of people who have no say in what's going on in Gaza, no say over what these disgusting billionaires in America are doing. No, I don't conflate the two, because I'm not stupid and I'm not hateful. Interesting that Canary Mission left that out. Also interesting that Canary Mission photoshopped this disgusting, image onto our background to make it appear as though we were using that image in our background. They're such disgusting, dishonest scum. They're scum. They're scum.
Their job.
Yeah. So, and we're going to hear from Cenk in the next clip, but basically Ana Kasparian is able to defend herself. She's able to explain certain misinterpretations. She's able to explain, hey, this is what I meant by this. You just look at the full context, look at the full clip. And yeah, whether it's the dog attacking her or some neighbor attacking her, she's able to talk about the issues, talk about what the disagreement is, as well as this thing that got misconstrued as a Happy Merchant meme, where she's actually just calling out Larry Ellison, who is buying up TikTok and buying up these companies. And it's really stifling the public discussions when certain things get forbidden to talk about, right? So that's a big thing. So I mean, like the video, this one, we're talking about stuff, but yeah, I mean, we do need to have that in terms of we need platforms where we're able to talk openly about every kind of thing. And yeah, so basically in the next clip, it's the same continuation, but it's going to be Cenk saying something good here, and just kind of, you can see, because they're both actually social type 1s, and Cenk is he's got a SE first, where Ana Kasparian has NI first, and those are different functions, but they're basically single observing and kind of riffing off of each other there. And but yeah, they're able to kind of like flex and show what they really mean and the direction they hope things go in. And yeah, they're very clear about that.
Their job is to terrorize Americans.
Yep.
And have us bow our heads to Israel.
Yep.
Because if you ever say anything against Israel, we will pretend that you're a hateful bigot. Even in a clip where we literally said this has nothing to do with Jewish Americans, our Jewish friends and family, they're like, shh, don't say that, don't share that. Let's just make them look like they're anti-Semites, and then hopefully someone will do violence against them and terrorize them and stalk them. Congratulations, Canary Mission. This is the fruits of your labor. The death threats that Ana gets and that I get, the fruits of your labor. You must be so proud, because your job is to terrorize Americans into compliance with Israel. I would love to know, and every reporter in the country should be asking, if they didn't all work for goddamn Israel, where the funding for Canary Mission comes from. Where does it come from? Who are the people trying to terrorize Americans and say?
Yeah, so basically it's not really a conspiracy at all. And it's getting a little annoying whenever I hear people talk about, oh, that's a conspiracy. It's like, there are a lot of basically Israeli funding. It's not classified as foreign lobbying, with AIPAC. Just look at how things are going in America right now with elections. AIPAC funded, $70 million in Michigan, in the Michigan Senate race against Abdul El Sayed, and he won. But you're fighting against a foreign country that is putting a lot of money, a lot of just pushing a lot of different things and campaigns on the American people, and the American people have to deal with this foreign lobby at every level of government, from our just walking around in the neighborhood, just in general. And so it is the time for single observing, that you got an EP and an IJ agreeing on some things. And yeah, I mean, that's what makes it so, not dangerous, but powerful. When Cenk and Ana are able to agree on something, they are both very opinionated, and yeah, they stand up for themselves. But yeah, this particular situation is wrong, because you got to be able to have free expression, and anything that's stifling that is the enemy. That's our First Amendment, is the freedom of speech, and we need to keep that going for all sides, for everyone, for all politics, right? And so in this video, we're going to be getting into a little bit different thing here, where we're going to talk about in this clip how Ana Kasparian needs to get to know herself, which you would think with an INTJ, right? You got the introvert at the top, right? The first letter is I. So it's like, how does this person not know themselves? But Ana Kasparian, because she has that higher energy, in objective personality, we talk about the animals and stuff, and because she has the most high energy animal stack, she comes off as very extroverted, and so she has to consciously slow down to get to know herself and to get to know in that sleep processing or that self-reflection processing time. So that's what we're going to be hearing about here.
Alternative media. Did the left change or did you?
I changed a little on a few social issues. Economically speaking, I am to the left of the current Democratic Party. I have not changed in regard to the things I was saying on that Jacobin show that I used to host with Michael Brooks, my late
Great
friend.
show.
All of those economic ideas, conversations, I still believe in. I actually went back and watched a few of those episodes prior to sitting down with you to make sure, like, okay, I want to really know myself before I answer your questions. But I have changed socially on some issues, right? So I think that for a long time, subconsciously, I just kind of co-signed to whatever the left in America was saying on these social issues because I knew pushing back even a little bit would lead to what I'm experiencing now, which is a lot of hit pieces about me, a lot of hatred toward me, a lot of claims that make absolutely no sense about how, I don't believe in racism. I absolutely do. I think that
Yeah, so you get misconstrued and people become your enemy when you decide to go off on your own and be independent. I'm doing this show independently. And so, yeah, people will go after you when you are independent because people perceive you as a threat. They see that you're not falling in line with something or another. And so, yeah, kudos to Anna for kind of getting out of the liberal bubble or in that case, like the political left. Well, kind of like the group mentality. It's not that being left is bad. It's that you want to be able to form your own opinions, and you don't want to co-sign something automatically just because your friend or someone you admire believes something. You do want to do the homework yourself. But the point here is that, yeah, she has that lower sleep. She needed that self-reflection time. And anyway, moving forward, we're going to be looking at this double deciding element where she is going to say that she doesn't hate any particular group, specifically Trump voters, right? Where a lot of people on the political left might actually hate those people when you ought to have a conversation with them. And that's why I have Ana Kasparian as a light episode here, because I see that she's willing to talk to people of any political background for the most part. And it's something that people on the political left do need to learn, because otherwise they become woke scolds, very like too woke in a way. And we see some issues with that. So let's check it out.
Are of you as you're giving them the news and commenting on it. So for instance, I don't hate Trump voters. I don't hate ordinary people regardless of what their views are. I think that we're living in a terrible time where there aren't really great political options for anyone, and people are trying to do the best they can with the options they have available. I get the sense that I'm supposed to despise Trump voters. Like, I have to hate them.
Right.
And if I don't hate them, then there's something wrong with me. That didn't exist before.
You're supposed to hate most people? Just
I mean, considering he won the popular vote, yes, I am supposed to hate most voters.
Right.
And somehow that is going to, I guess, turn into us winning something. I don't really understand it. I think what I have today that I didn't have in 2016 even is this deep empathy. It's softened me as a person. So if you go back and watch some of my content from 2016, I'm like, it comes across, it's like faux strength, right? You're just trashing people. And unfortunately, that gets mistaken for being a fighter. I wasn't really fighting for anything. I was just spewing vile hatred toward people who voted differently from me. And all that did was feed into the divisions that we see in this country right now. And I have a lot of regret about it. And what's so funny is that a huge portion of the audience we used to have, they write to me regularly to tell me, you used to be a fighter
you're not a fighter anymore. And it's like, no. I used to be part of the problem. I look back at that content and I'm ashamed of it, but they look at that content and they think, oh my God, why can't you go back to doing what you used to do?
Yeah, so this is an environmental question here, right? I wrote the words intuitive environment. She's commenting on that because, there's a social justice warrior aspect of it where you have the banner and you're kind of fighting as hard as you can, which you still see today a lot of people are doing, whether they're on the left or the right. They're just scolding people who think differently, where Anna's basically seeing herself out of that kind of vibe, right? She is now willing to talk to the groups who voted differently than how she would vote, right? She's not willing to say, hey, I hate this group for voting differently, and having actual communications and actual conversations with people, because spewing hate or just, hating your enemy, it's not really the best way forward. Like there might be a different perspective, and making room and making space for other people to have different perspectives from you is what Ana Kasparian is doing. And I know there are people who are like, hey, that's not from like a solid worldview, but it becomes very much scolding, if you hold a different position than what Anna's doing right now, where she's a lot more open. And it depends. We all have our roles to play, but Anna seems to want to, help people work together, right, and come together. So that's a little bit of what this clip is going to cover. I'm going to let it be a bit shorter here.
Presents them. They look at the two options and they see one presidential candidate pretending to care about class issues.
Right.
And so they moved on over to the right. My whole argument right now is I want to find a way to bring voters together, because I think that most American voters are concerned about the same things and they want to pursue similar policies. It's just that there's a very real effort right now to keep engaging in like the division and the polarization. There's an effort to prevent these coalitions from forming. And I'm trying to get left-wing voters to understand what I'm trying to do, but they keep mistaking it as me laundering the reputation of right-wing, right-wingers in power. No, the right-wingers in power, they're the same people. They've been around forever. They're the same people. They're pursuing the same cuts to the social safety net. They're pursuing the same, tax giveaway.
Yeah, so in this clip, she's actually trying to expose what she's doing, where a lot of people on the left, or, people who are supposedly on her team, they don't understand the need for, opening up the tent, opening up the messaging, the communication protocols, the basically opening up conversation with more people. Like that's basically marketing, right? Which is funny enough. That's what, Anna was originally hired for with the Young Turks, right? Because Cenk needed someone to help with marketing, but she worked her way up, which is interesting. And there's something about that too, where, I feel like if you're an IJ, you're able to kind of work your way up little by little. But anyway, so she's trying to get people to work together, and that's kind of like a bigger picture ideal that a lot of people are missing. And she's trying to explain it, but it basically falls on deaf ears because people are like, hey, you're trying to launder the reputation of this person or that person. I remember one time, I don't like Jerry Seinfeld, but I had on a slide that, in a first impression slide, like I don't even like Jillian Michaels. I included her here, right? But if you include an image of someone, like, does that piss you off that much? Does that make you that angry to see an image even of someone who you don't like? Actually, I kind of get that, but at least from a leadership perspective, we have to be able to communicate to all kinds of people. And that's something that I hope to see not only in the political left, but just in general in America. We need to be able to reach across the aisle, reach across whatever ideological divisions there may be, and communicate and keep that protocol open, right? I mean, that's why the internet is so good, is because it is open and you can hear people from any which side. And speaking of which, someone who's on the political right, Tucker Carlson, has been, in communication with Ana Kasparian here, who's on the left. And so they have these conversations back and forth, and they're, seeing where they agree and disagree. And there are certain things like, holding the Epstein perpetrators, the people who are connected in that network, holding those people to account is something that Tucker Carlson tries to push for in a way, allegedly. I don't really know necessarily how much he does on that front, but at least he's talking about it. And at least as far as the Gaza genocide, he talks about it a lot. And so it's a good thing. And, who knows how many things we agree on, but if you don't talk, you're not really going to find out how many issues the political left and political right people agree on if they're using these labels. Anyway, yeah, let's see in this clip, we're going to see Ana Kasparian just cut through all the crap with an NI laser. And by that, I mean, she's going to make issues that are hard to understand, easy to understand, and kind of cut through the noise and expose and explain what the noise is, what the illusions are that the government wants people to believe, and what she is seeing, how she is seeing through that.
Fish, devotee of the state of Israel, and I don't mean that as a compliment. He's a very nice man, but I disagree with him strongly. Even Mike Huckabee came out and said, whoa.
Yeah.
You can't kill Christians.
And American citizens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why that's not, if that's not a red line, then there's no red line.
I think it should definitely be a red line. But let me just say, Mike Huckabee made a statement, and that's nice. It's more than Biden was willing to do. Talk is cheap. Are you going to cut funding? Are you going to stop sending over the 2,000-pound bombs that are destroying people's homes, universities, churches, refugee camps, hospitals? Gaza's leveled. Deir al-Balah is like the last remaining portion of Gaza that still has some structures that people can live in. And they're currently doing a ground invasion there. They got to destroy it, of course. It's so obvious what's happening, and it's so unjust. And this is the area where, what democracy? I have no power. The government's going to take part of my earnings that I worked really hard for, not to help my fellow American citizens who might need health care, who might have fallen on hard times and can't feed their families and need help with food assistance. It's not going to go to them. It's going to go toward the bombs that are terrorizing people in Gaza, the West Bank. By the way, it's going to expand further than that. They've already annexed part of Syria. The Syria war, that proxy war, was a proxy war for a reason. Turkey wanted to have influence and control over the area where the Kurds are at. Obviously, Israel wanted to annex portions of it, and they've been doing it ever since Assad fell. And you have a former al-Qaeda leader as the current leader of Syria, who's trying to capitulate to Israel, but obviously it's not good enough because Israel's still bombing the crap out of Syria. It's unbelievable. I have no ability to change it. It seems like the electorate in this country have no ability to change it because it doesn't matter which party you vote for, whether it's a Democratic presidential candidate or a Republican presidential candidate. They're going to get elected, and they're going to get dog walked by whoever the prime minister of Israel is at the time.
How do we wind up supporting an al-Qaeda leader? I thought we...
Yeah, so, and Tucker's asking questions as he usually does. Basically, so what happens is that, yeah, Ana was cutting through with her laser eyes, her NI, seeing through the illusions of like, hey, these, this military operations are being carried out. And what that means is you're not getting funding for your schools. You're not getting funding for anything at home. American taxpayers are basically not paying money for anything in America, but we're basically paying money for things in Israel. And that's something that more and more Americans are waking up to slowly but surely. And yeah, that's why new media spaces are important. People are learning through alternative media because the mainstream media is not really going to cover this. And so, yeah, so the NI lasers cutting through that and also seeing the dots connect with, the operations in Syria or whatever is going on there, and how Israel's just kind of trying to expand further and further out, and how we're basically funding that. And then something at the end there with Al Qaeda, somehow we're tied to that. America is supporting that, or Israel is supporting that, something like this. I don't really know, but anyway, basically, yeah, let's just move on. But Ana Kasparian, she has that specialized third. As a number one, you can work on, doing your homework, and the more you do your homework, the more you come off with more understanding, more knowledge. It does take time for us, the number ones and twos, to build that knowledge and build that specialize up in order to actually start achieving things in, achieving like actual high merit activities, like achievements in terms of like she actually understands what's going on and is able to push narratives that aren't being pushed anywhere else, because she is doing the homework as to where the money's going, where the tax money is going, and things that the media is not willing to say. So in that case, the flex really does help, because you're willing to basically punch up and speak truth to power. And speaking of that, these next clips are going to be with Candace Owens, who's also a number one, but where Ana Kasparian is INTJ, Candace Owens is an ESFP. So same functions, just the opposite stack, where Ana has SE fourth and Candace Owen has NI fourth. And, they basically have their first, the other person's fourth function as their first function. So anyway, they're both number ones. They're both powerful women, speaking truth to power. And yeah, let's check it out. This is the last video, but I'm going to have a few clips from this one. So let's just see the beginning of it, see how it goes.
All right, you guys, I am so excited. I have been saying, probably seen this all over online, that I have been dying to host Ana Kasparian, because I feel like at the exact same time, her and I had perhaps a broader awakening about this left-right paradigm that is not serving the left or the right and is only serving the elites. It's how we are all feeling right now. And similarly, her and I are both under a very severe attack from Zionists who, I guess, want our families to be harmed. Ana Kasparian, welcome to the Candace Show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm like thrilled to have you. It's just so funny because we hated each other so much.
So much. I mean, it is wild where we're at, but I'll tell you where I started to change my mind about you. It was a few years ago where, well, first of all, it started with your firing at the Daily Wire and what you were fired for, right? The fact that you were willing to call out a genocide for what it is. And I really respected that, because there weren't really any media people on the right at all at that time who were willing to do it. Then after that, you went on, I think maybe a few podcasts where you talked about your evolution in regard to your perception of Muslims. And I was like, okay, that takes an honest person to say that, to like admit I was wrong. And especially on the right, where, the Islamophobia, which I think is the product of brainwashing, is still very much prominent, right?
Okay, we're going to get to brainwashing. But yeah, that's really good double deciding. They're both speaking truth to power. They're both speaking up for, the Palestine cause, as well as, speaking out on, the Gaza genocide, the Epstein files, all these things that, end up getting censored. Who knows? Anytime I'm doing these live streams, I don't know how much I'm stepping over the wire or stepping over some trap that gets you censored. But yeah, so it's just remarkable to see, hey, this is a person who Ana hated, and now she's on the podcast. So, that's the miracle of double deciding, right? You gotta allow yourself to change your opinion of someone. It could go the other way too. You could love someone, respect someone, and then lose the respect for that person. You can hate someone, and then you can gain respect for that person. And it's just so nice to see these two together, and it's just really good talk that they were able to have. And yeah, the topic of brainwashing is super important. Of course, this channel, we talk about psychology, we talk about personality, right? And what's the point of knowing your personality if you're susceptible to brainwashing? And so let's start to understand a little bit of what the mainstream media or general media has tried to brainwash people on, right? And so, you got these people totally opposite types, but they're both number ones and they're both, flexing and able to speak powerfully, both independent women, and they're having a very pleasant conversation together about brainwashing. Let's check it out.
You understand even within the Jewish population, and that's why I've done so much. I've made such an effort over the last year to wake up Jewish Americans to this, right? Because I view them as, you were brainwashed. This is what you think. I mean, this is the whole reason they started the program of birthright. And when the ADL guy got caught, out of private call saying that, we need to kind of come up with something. We're losing Gen Z. We got to do like we did when we established that program for birthright. And this is why Max Blumenthal has done such incredible work, because he went on birthright and he spoke about that experience. They're brainwashing them so young, right? We are all subject to brainwashing. That is the most important thing that I think I have come out of learning, as how did I get brainwashed? I thought the same thing.
Oops. But yeah, look into that, the brainwashing of everyone, a lot of things have brainwashing, but specifically in that case, the birthright trip that people take when they go to Israel, and they get a free trip, and then they do all kinds of things that just, they get a certain rosy colored picture view into what life is like in Israel. And it's, basically like a brainwashing campaign.
You understand even within the Jewish population, but defend who is being oppressed. And so there's this sort of trigger mechanism that is within all of us. It's buried within us from the time that we're kids, and we don't realize it because we're just taking in so much media. We're listening to our teachers, and then we're like, October 7th happens, and then they go, remember all that stuff? This is now, you have to understand what they're going to do next. Think about what happened. You don't want another Holocaust.
It's like priming you to be accepting of something that just goes against your core principles.
And for Jewish Americans too. So you can understand why they reacted the way that they did right away.
Of course.
They're going to get that 20 times worse. It's going to be your stories about your grandma in your book. You go to temple, you go to synagogue, and you're going to have those presets. And then it went too far. And a lot of them snapped out of it. And now I get Jewish people emailing me.
Totally.
Being like, I don't know what this is. I don't know why I'm being told I have to defend Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know why.
I hate to phrase it this way, but it's kind of like an IQ test. I don't like to phrase it that way, but that is if you can see through the problems of what Israel is doing, that is a bit of an IQ test. And like I said, I don't like to use that framing because brainwashing is something that we've all gone through. I went through the public education system in New York, and there's all kinds of things, a lot of propaganda, in our textbooks and things. And so being able to see through that is no easy task. It's not simply an IQ test, but you have to have a lot of, probably EQ as well. It's probably testing multiple things that we don't even know how to measure. It's also testing your soul, your ability to tell right from wrong, ethics. And so in the next clip, we're going to hear a little bit more about brainwashing. But this time, I said I grew up in New York. One of the big things was the situation with 9/11, where not only did something bad happen, but it was also used to launch a lot of negative propaganda against Muslims, against Islam. And they're going to talk about that here. Ana Kasparian and Candace. Let's see what they have to say.
When it came to the Muslim population, I think that the dehumanization was seen in the media across the board. And that brainwashing worked for a really long time. I mean, it definitely convinced Americans to support wars that we shouldn't have supported.
Going back to those presets when we're in our youth, 9/11.
Yep.
It was so raw. It was so scary. The way they made us stand up at 9/11 every day, the time in school, moment of silence for what the Muslims did to us. Think about that's kind of, so I was just like, Muslims, this is just how they live. This is what they do. And didn't register to me as Islamophobia. I just thought I'm educated. It's a token of your education to understand how despicable Muslims are.
I remember that. I remember that so well. I remember the unfair attacks against Muslims. By the way, I mean, there are different Muslim beliefs like sects and whatever, but everything was just lumped together. Muslims bad. And this is going to be used as a justification for us to enriched defense contractors. They profit off war. Right now, there's a town in Alabama where they make rockets and military weaponry, and it's booming all of a sudden because of the war against Iran. And it's funny listening to an interview of like one of the workers there, because they're able to like compartmentalize the economic boom they're experiencing from what it's feeding into.
Mhm.
And so when you think about how people's livelihoods get wrapped up into questions of peace and war, when you consider the fact that our media apparatus, especially when it comes to legacy media or corporate media, is very much part of the propaganda campaigns to...
Yep. So yeah, I ended that clip there, but basically I wanted to touch on, in Lord of the Rings, basically you have the orcs and they're said to be evil, basically, right? So that's basically what happened with the Muslim population in the world. Is the American and Western media basically said, hey, these people are orcs, they don't have feelings or something, let's just keep attacking them and destroying their lives, their cities, their countries, all these things. And so a lot of taxpayer money from Western countries, including and especially the United States, went into, and even Obama, there's people on both sides, Democrat, Republican, not that, it's really a uniparty, it's one party really, but people on both sides, they're funding these wars to kill these Muslims in the Middle East, and they're basically treated the way orcs are treated in Lord of the Rings, where it's like, hey, what if the orcs are good people? Should Legolas, the elf, and Aragorn, should they really be killing them? Without asking, hey, like, are you a bad person? It's like, no. So they needed that othering, and the dehumanizing of people. And after 9/11, it's like, okay, so 3,000 people died in, the city I grew up in, New York City. And so because 3,000 people died, then you just go kill all Muslims. That's basically what the propaganda was telling people, that, hey, we have to do this war. But, not everyone fell for it, but most people did. And yeah, so there's nothing actually inherently bad with Muslims. There's 2 billion, and you don't really hear. There's 2 billion Muslims, but you don't really hear about the 2 billion Muslims. You'll hear about, a few extremists here and there, and people will act like that is representative of the 2 billion Muslims. Whereas, are there any Muslims in the Epstein files? Not that I know of that many of. Yeah. Although UAE is a little weird. I think there's someone from UAE in there. But yeah, so we got a comment here. Almost missed this because I was watching the Jonathan Pajot video. Yep. Yeah, that one was trippy. Yeah, I mean, that was a neutral video, and I'm actually going to be possibly doing another neutral video. Yeah. We'll see. That guy, there's some good things, there's some bad things, there's some disappointing things. Yeah, I feel pretty neutral about Jonathan Pajot. But yeah, it's a little complicated. There's some good things about the symbolism, but anyway. So in this last clip, and that's really what it is like, if you are able to see through the propaganda of this, that, or the other thing, including the Muslim propaganda, which I'm not sure Jonathan Pajot was able to see through. And a lot of people, a lot of Americans not able to see through propaganda, but the people who do have the ability to see through the illusions, they are able to kind of end on this positive note where they're not looking at the party affiliations, they're not looking at Democrats or Republicans, they're looking at the issues, specifically in this case, like Epstein and Gaza, which they're going to mention here.
I think things are changing. I think Americans are uniting on issues that matter the most. And that gives me hope. So as negative as all the issues we've been talking about are, fact of the matter is we are kind of moving in a better direction. At least the people of this country are. And we need to find a way. We need to start strategizing on how to change the political class entirely. All of them. Okay. And the Chuck Schumers on the Democratic side, they got to go.
Mm-hmm.
They got to go.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, it has been an absolute honor to host Ana Kasparian. I am sure there will be backlash. Actually, not for me. My audience is very split now because
Really?
I'm not like
I know,
I'm
the females in my
totally-
family who are watching you. I was like, I was pretty shocked.
Like,
yeah.
because I just hate everybody. Like,
Shout
I got
out to
the
Lily
point.
Rodriguez, by the way. She
Shout out to Lily Rodriguez. Yeah, I just don't care anymore. We have to do more of this. It is the only way we're going to save this country against the Epstein class. And so if you're anti-pedophiles, if you are against what is going on in Gaza, then we really are actually on the right side. We're on the same side. On the right side, I should say the same side.
the same side.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
Yep, that was really good. Okay, so that was the last clip, basically. And yeah, Candace Owens and Ana Kasparian in the same room. That would have been wild, if you told people a few years ago or several years ago. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what can bring the left and the right together? It's the truth, really. And the truth is that Israel has gone way too far in Gaza with the Gaza genocide. There are people who see that. And there are people who know that pedophilia is wrong and people who don't know that it's wrong, or they think that it's okay if, certain people who are protected, like protected by Pam Bondi, right? There's been 0 arrests in America on the Epstein file case. And so that is, untenable, basically. And so we're in this boiling pot. And it's a matter of, can we find the signal through? Can we find the through line? Can we have the NI laser eyes? I hope the NESI folks, the people who have the extroverted intuition and introverted sensing functions, I hope they can also see through the crap. But yeah, we're like these frogs in a boiling pot, and the actual comic here makes sense. A gradual process of incremental taxation, I declare, that the general populace will be unaware of the stranglehold our government will eventually have over them. Is it me, or is it getting hot in here? Yeah, so just having opinions about this stuff is not enough. You have to actually jump out of the boiling pot. You have to actually take action. And yeah, you have to know that there's something wrong. And I think a good amount of Americans are waking up. A good amount of people in the Western world are waking up to a few things. But there's bigger truths, and it gets a little tiring and annoying that, you find one conspiracy turned out to be true. Like, oh, there is a genocide in Gaza. And then it's like, oh, another one is like, oh, it turns out those people were doing pedophilia with the Epstein class, basically. And oh, it turns out Elon Musk is not a good guy, and so you're finding out all this stuff, and you want to actually start banding together, right? So the people, we are high in number, and if you are able to actually go out, be active in some kind of way, or just build community, and go out and I don't know if voting is really going to help necessarily, but I would encourage you to vote at a minimum, right? That's a baseline, is to vote and to kind of speak out on these issues and elevate your own awareness. Go towards higher consciousness. It's not just about navel gazing. It's about actually doing something. And so anyway, narrowing down the guest for Ana Kasparian, who has the NI laser eyes. First of all, she's some kind of INTJ. You can see the NI, you can see the TE work together, and the NI seeing through the bullshit, right? And then you see play over sleep. Like, she has to do self-reflection. She has to consciously choose to self-reflect. She's not naturally doing it. She had to go back over and watch herself to see what she believes and what she thinks, which makes sense. I had to do that too, actually, with low, I have sleep third. And then, yeah, she's an observer. She's able to, talk about the single observer issues, no problem. And she has very high energy about it. She's able to explain herself multiple times and be very clear about the information. So she is also info dom. And so, yeah, my final guess is going to be that double feminine NITE, blast play, consume sleep blast, number 1. So social type 1, and the other social type I would guess is 3. I could definitely see flex, and I can see that she's trying to work on specialize, but who knows? I think she's a number 1, and I believe she might have been typed, but sometimes the type gets redone or there's some coins off. I believe Dave did a video on her, but I couldn't find it actually. So, but anyway, I'm sticking with number 1 flex first. She's able to generalize. She's able to run shows. She reminded me actually a little bit of Gray, who is in the community. I don't know how active she is now, but yeah. So NTJ, blast play. I'll call it high energy. We had another word for it. I'm not going to say it, but seeing through the bull crap, but also being able to explain the bull crap, the stuff that's going on. It's really good to have her voice. She's not always going to be right about everything. She's, that's not her job. I think the ability to speak truth to power, and when you eventually get the right answer, it's helpful, it's useful. We got to have people who are strong in their beliefs. And yeah, I'll mention this comment here, the frog. Yeah, we are all basically frogs in a boiling pot. You just got to climb out of one and into another one. But that's kind of like Plato's cave allegory. But there's so many media forces that are trying to brainwash people on multiple levels that it is hard to really see the signal through the noise. And once you see that signal, you got to hold on to that. You're like riding a horse and you got to just keep going. And people are chasing after you and you got to stay on that signal. And the noise is just going to keep coming. The mainstream media is very well funded. People are going to continue to distract the general public, including us, me, you. Yeah, and so INTJs, yeah, you got the mature versions, you got the immature versions, and yeah, Ana Kasparian might have been unhealthy at a certain point, and then she became more mature, she became more healthy, and we all had to go through this, going from the unhealthy side to the healthy side, and it's just about little by little, step by step, doing a few more things where you're using your functions in a better way. You're not using your functions for evil or trying to hold it over people, like, hey, I know something you don't know, like not doing that, and just trying to see the bigger picture and be someone who is helping and actually taking action, being active and all this. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to be typing someone who I probably agree with politically, but I don't think it's the right strategy, the kind of demeanor. And it's someone named BadEmpanada. So this is someone on YouTube who is a prominent leftist Australian YouTuber, podcaster, and political commentator. They're not actually an empanada. They'll look like this. And yeah, he had, at a certain point, he talked to Hassan Piker. I think they had some kind of debate back and forth, but they're both on the left. But BadEmpanada is even more on the left and kind of tries to be, Hassan calls him ultra left, right? So yeah, it is kind of interesting to see how far politics can go. But one of the issues with this is that you end up not being very productive. If you're trying to be very correct on certain issues, you may not be able to vote correctly, right? You still need to win elections and certain things like this. So it's very tough to tell what's the correct strategy. I'm very new to understanding and learning politics, and so it's been very helpful. This guy does put together really good video essays on colonialism and other things. And yeah, so anyway, BadEmpanada in 2 weeks. I have the date wrong there. It should be August 28th ish, maybe the day after. But yeah, that might be a neutral episode. I might agree with that person a lot, but the reason why I might not put that in the light is because it might be a bad strategy to just ruffle feathers too much. But who knows? Maybe we need that. Maybe we need that more. And that's why I'm leaving the possibility that it's a light episode, because maybe we need to speak truth to power even more than we already are. And yeah, that's probably likely. I hope you can leave a comment and let me know what you think of this typing, but also for any of these topics, right? Like, what do you think about, number ones growing in their specialization, like Candace Owens and Ana Kasparian, learning deeper about politics and their worldview evolving, and transforming. And then what do you think about the single observer issues, conspiracy theories, and this kind of thing? Because what ends up being conspiracy theories yesterday ends up being the truth today, and the news finally reporting on something that they ignored for a long time. But anyway, that's it for today. It's been awesome typing Anna. I hope you have a wonderful day, and my voice is cracking now.